Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby come through huge for the Knicks in the clutch, 114 to 113 win over Memphis. Mitchell Robinson makes his return and looks fantastic as well. Lots to talk about next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today's show is going to be a fun one. We get to talk about a 114 to 113 crunch time win on the road against Memphis for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson coming up big with a huge three-pointer, but then OG Anunoby coming up with the game-winning three-pointer. Both guys having plenty of opportunity to shine and show why this team is one of the clutchest in the NBA in late-game situations like this. Plus, Mitchell Robinson makes his return. Going to talk about that. Also going to talk about how Deuce McBride and the bench really had a great showing, outscored the Memphis bench, which is the number one scoring bench in the entire NBA. So a big achievement for the Knicks bench, which is 30th in the NBA, to do that. So talking about that as well, plus a bunch more. But first, I wanted to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that auto download function on your favorite podcast app or notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if the audio isn't enough, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter, one step for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. So let's start getting into this game, and I'll first take a moment to apologize. A little nasally today. Maybe my voice sounding a little fried. Had dealing with, I don't know if it's allergies or a little cold or what. Something's got my throat a little scratchy, so apologies in advance if I'm sounding a little too baritone or whatever today. But either way, let's talk about this Knicks win. 114 to 113 Friday night Knicks over the Memphis Grizzlies. And Captain Clutch, Jalen Brunson, man, this guy, he just does it when it's time to win the game. He comes out there, he makes the shots you need, hits just a cold-blooded three down the stretch of this game, which could have been the one that iced it for the Knicks. But then Ja Morant, to his credit, comes down the other end, gets a big and one. Then Brunson once again takes it down the other side, toasts Morant on that end, and then it gets the whole defense collapsed on him, kicks it out to OG Anunoby. OG against the closing out Santi Aldama, just nails one right in his eye. Great opportunity for OG to have kind of his signature moment so far this season, and he absolutely ran away with it. And just hit a huge shot for the Knicks. But this wasn't always great. I mean, just to give a brief recap of the game that was, I mean, it was a really sloppy start for the Knicks. They returned the ball over a lot early. They, in general, just kind of looked out of sync. They weren't really operating the way that you want on offense. It was just a lot of sloppy passes. Memphis, to their credit, was playing the passing lanes really well and looked really energized in that way. But, there's a lot of correctable stuff for the Knicks in this one that they just weren't correcting early. But they were playing good enough defense early. They were keeping Memphis somewhat at bay. I mean, the fact that the Knicks only I think they went down 10-3 early in this game. It was like it had the potential for them to kind of get knocked on their butt a little bit, but they just kept at it, played good defense, showed that kind of resilience and toughness, and had the nice safety blanket finally of Karl-Anthony Towns got in some foul trouble with about 7 minutes left in the first quarter. They were able to throw Mitchell Robinson out there, who gave them some very, very good center minutes. And that's not anything against what Precious Achiuwa has been doing. But Mitch is just, I mean, if he's at his best, he's on a different level from what you can get out of a Precious Achiuwa. And, for his first game back, he looked really good. I'm excited to talk about him in a couple minutes. And also defensively, I mean, they were playing good D early on, which allowed them to kind of, cut back into this lead and whatever. But they got to finally utilize the defensive death lineup 2 points late in this game, the final two possessions. Tibbs as he's been doing lately, put out a strictly defense lineup. Didn't like took Brunson off the floor, had Cat off the floor, and had Deuce McBride, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson all on the floor at the same time for two straight possessions late in the game, two straight Memphis possessions late in the game. And honestly, they were pretty nasty. Like, I mean, Morant managed to get the go ahead bucket that preceded the OG three, obviously first, which he had a good possession with that. He kind of got the better of Mikal on that one. Mitch a little late to get over, but it didn't really matter too much. I mean, because ultimately it was an and one at the end of the day. I mean, I guess Mitch could have blocked it, and then it would have just been two free throws. Maybe that would have been slightly better, but either way, they got beat a little bit by Morant there, but he's a really good player, so he's going to get his in some chances there. But then a great possession, the last one of the game. Mikal learns from the mistakes. Morant tries to kind of do the same thing to him, get him going left towards the hoop, and Mikal just keeps him a little more in front of him that second time. Gets one of those long arms out, affects the shot. Morant goes too long on the layup attempt, and then Mitch, keeps I believe it was Aldama off the glass and gets just the tip rebound that seals it. You get Mitch out there with that big body to grab that rebound to just ice the game. That's what you love to see. And the best part about that lineup is that you could put Brunson in for either Deuce or Hart, and you still have a pretty potent defensive lineup that you could run at some point. So hopefully that's one that we see pretty soon. But let's not bury the lead of all the clutch plays and everything else here. Let's get into some of those. So OG Anunoby, 19 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 4 of 10 from 3. Of course, hit the huge one late. Just the game-winning 3 was enormous. I mean, he had I think a pretty good closeout to contest with from Santi Aldama, who had looked to the inside to try to kind of triple team, quadruple team, whatever amount of team Jalen Brunson down there, but still recovered pretty well once Brunson kicked the ball out. And he's a long player, so managed to get an arm up, and could have affected OG, but OG was like ready to rock with that. I mean, he found perfect positioning right towards the corner. And if you watch the play again, I mean, he was like, he knew what the drill was. Like, he saw Brunson going in there, and he was like, okay, let me get, he was fully like squatted down, ready to receive that ball, ready to get into a shooting motion, gets it, perfect execution, goes up for that 3. Really, really nice arcing 3. Nice, a nice full extension from him. Everything else, just a beautiful play. Great 3. He was fired up. It was maybe the most fired up I've seen OG Anunoby look in his time with the Knicks so far. Really hilarious moment after the game too, during the post game interview. Monica McNutt's talking to him over the headset, and Kenny Albert, in typical Kenny Albert fashion, did not exactly deliver his question in the most provocative way or whatever. It's just like, OG, how you feeling? Whatever. And OG's getting ready to just be like, yeah, I feel good, whatever. And Monica like kind of got on him over the headset and was like, come on, man, smile a little bit. And you get this hilarious, like full 2-row smile from OG Anunoby. That was fun. It's fun to see him, having a good time out there, and feeling good after that foot injury, back fully, getting through a whole game and feeling good. So that's great to see. I thought he was all over the place on defense too. Really made his presence felt. I thought, Jaren Jackson Jr. Was probably the biggest offensive worry for the Knicks in this one. I mean, he was on the inside just absolutely cooking them. The Knicks got really outscored in the paint in this game. The Grizzlies were attacking that all game. And, obviously with Mitch just coming back from injury, with Cat out there normally, and then in foul trouble, with Josh Hart even in foul trouble, like there was a lot of reasons for them to be able to kind of, take advantage of the inside there. And I thought that Jaren Jackson was doing a good job with that. But OG played him pretty well in the opportunities that he had. He blocked Jaren Jackson at one point, which was pretty impressive because, Triple J was looking pretty unstoppable with that little like baby hook. So to see OG manage to get one over on him with that was great. I thought he played good defense on the inside, had the 2 blocks, had the 1 steal. Just all in all, a really solid defensive game from him as well. And I thought he was like the right type of aggressive on offense in this one. He didn't try to do too much. He didn't put himself in like compromising positions offensively like he has at times recently. So he just kind of like used the things he's really good at. Like he didn't try to overdo it with dribble penetration or or trying to split defenders or, whatever. Like he stayed kind of within his lane, just good cuts, 3-point shooting. Did have a sidestep dribble pull up three at one point. That was pretty saucy. Did that on the perimeter. And it was on like the like right elbow three too, which is not usually his spot. He's normally more of a corners guy. So that was good to see. Big boy Desmond Bane in transition at one point, maybe a foul. I don't know. There was a little bit of a push off. I'm not going to say anything. I think Bane sold it pretty well too. So they were in transition. OG was coming down and kind of just stuck the arm out. Gave the little didn't give a shiver, but had the forearm out there, and then Bane just kind of goes flying off his arm. OG goes up for a big two-handed dunk. Love to see that. I always love those big OG dunks in transition. And then had a really nice cut for a finger roll at one point off a Josh Hart dime. So Josh Hart was trapped underneath after he'd penetrated in, and the Grizzlies collapsed in on him. OG smartly comes from the top of the key and dribbles, or doesn't dribble, it drives down in, grabs the ball, and just goes right up for a little finger roll. That was a really nice play as well. So really like the game from OG. I thought this was one of my favorite games for him in recent memory. Just the way that he approached it. His shooting percentages weren't like bonkers. They weren't like off the charts. I think by the time all was said and done, he ended up, what did he end up shooting in this one? 7 of 17. So like not the best, but like the 4 of 10 from three is great. And I thought just in overall, like the process was good, which is all you want to see. I thought that it was a really good game for him, and I was very happy with it. But of course, also really happy with Jalen Brunson's game. He had just all the clutch plays down the stretch again. Got to kind of get one over on Ja Morant, which was great. All kinds of stuff. So I'm going to talk about that in just a moment when we get back in. But first, I want to let you know about our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing the Knicks for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. Probably should have could have made that with OG. It would have been a great bet in this game. I never feel like I missed my chance in these games, but thanks to the live betting. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, I'm back in talking through this big clutch Knicks win, 114 to 113. It's about time in a clutch win to start talking about Captain Clutch himself, Jalen Brunson, right? 23 points, 6 assists, 7 boards, 3 steals, 10 of 23 field goals for Brunson in this one. I I could tell at different points in this game, Ja Morant really wants to be able to defend Jalen Brunson, but he just cannot defend Jalen Brunson. I think the Knicks were hunting that matchup as much as they could. The last possession, Jalen Brunson beat Ja Morant. That was, part of they would have Bane on him at times. Like Bane was on him when he hit the three. So Brunson, I guess I'll go about that first. But like, on the second to last Knicks possession, Brunson gets it. Very simple, just rejects a Josh Hart screen going to the left, and then Hart just kind of flips it. Brunson takes that one, walks right into a three and just nails it. Does this cool little double point uh celebration towards Tibbs. Tibbs was confused about it, said he didn't know what that was about, but was just glad that Brunson made the shot. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, it did a brilliant job with Bane in that one, but then gets Ja Morant on him on the last play and just toasts him, gets right by him, kind of traps him behind him. And then the whole defense collapses in because they're trying to stop Brunson from making a quick little floater to tie it. And then, of course, then Brunson notices OG sitting there, squatted up, ready for that 3-point attempt, and kicks it out to him. OG takes the opportunity, bangs that three home, gets the Knicks up by one. It's actually a shame there couldn't be a bang in this one because no Mike Breen, but Kenny Albert got to call it. That was cool. It would have been a great bang though. But anyway, yeah, it was just great execution by Brunson. I mean, this guy is just. It seems like he gets better when it's late in the game, when there's when there's a potential to win the game, or it's just a few points, like it's like everything about him gets better. I mean, even right down to, I feel like even on defense and stuff, he's more prone to getting like a steal late, stuff like that. Like it's just this guy, something about once those last few minutes kick in a tight game, he just turns it up. And I mean, this is a guy we've needed forever as a Knicks fans. Like Gavin touched on it the other day. It was just kind of saying after Brunson's, other clutch performance the other day, he's just doing this like every single game at this point. But I mean, Gavin touched on it of like, this is the type of dude we've needed forever, in a Knicks uniform. And no disrespect to Carmelo Anthony, I think definitely the best Knicks since Patrick Ewing, perhaps the best Knicks since Clyde. I mean, this guy is just, we'll see how far he ends up taking them. If he ends up taking them to a championship, to a conference championship, to whatever, like no matter what though, I mean, this guy's just, he's so clutch. He gets best when the lights are brightest. I love watching Jalen Brunson play. There's just something about how he gets these like super, it's like he's Superman standing next to the sun, charging off the sun's rays at a certain point. It's like the fourth quarter, once that scoreboard switches to the fourth quarter, the LEDs start charging up his body, and then he just goes supernova right at the end. It's just it's crazy to see. But also crazy to see was Mitchell Robinson's return. It just felt almost surreal seeing him back on the floor. Feels like it's been so long since we got to see him. He played 12 minutes, 21 seconds. He had 6 points, 5 boards, 3 of 4 from the field, shot a team high plus 11. And I love seeing him out there. Like the final few defensive possessions I already mentioned. I mean, he was out there with that like super defensive lineup, and he kind of alluded after the game, that it was cool, like that Tibbs trusted him for that, even after such a long layoff, that Tibbs trusted his work and whatever, and trusted that he was in, good enough shape and was ready to just slot right back in. And he certainly did. I mean, like I said already, he got the defensive rebound to ice the game after some great Mikal D on Morant. Like the Mikal D was great, but if Mitch wasn't sealing off Aldama there, Aldama might have gotten a tip in. Like Aldama did lightly get a hand on it over Mitch's back and then got it to the right of the backboard. And if Mitch wasn't boxing out as well as he was right there, then perhaps that's, Aldama's able to get a better hand on it, get it tipped up to the back of the rim, and then it kind of, hangs there for a second and bounces in, and Memphis ends up winning this game. So huge for Mitch there. He was, look, I'm not going to say just as important as the defense that Mikal played on Ja, obviously, but damn near. I mean, there was a real chance that if there wasn't a great box out there that you expect out of Mitchell Robinson, that then that ball goes in and the Grizzlies end up winning this game. And it's also not to say that I don't think the Cat could have done that. I think Cat's a great rebounder as well, great at boxing out. He's had plenty of clutch rebounds this year as well. So, but just Mitch with that added defense element that he has too, of where Morant was definitely kind of scared to like cross it back over and try to, get around Mikal that way because of the looming presence of Mitch there. That's something you can't really replicate, unless you have Mitchell Robinson out there, because he's so talented and such a deterrent at the rim there. I love seeing him, how he was looking and how he was moving. He looked really spry. Looked like he was moving well. He looked quick. I had heard some people kind of saying like, oh, I hope he didn't get too thin. And I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, he looks strong. He looks strong as ever, but, like spry as ever. He's not overly muscled like he was coming into the 21 to 22 season. I think that was when he was just like way, way too big. But, he doesn't look like rookie Mitch or anything either. Like nobody's going to push this guy around. He's definitely he's probably hanging at a cool like 260, 270 right now, something like that. Like he's definitely got weight to him. He looks big, but also spry. Like he's jumping well. It seems like he's running well. Doing a really good job there. He just almost effortlessly got some of the rebounds that he got. Like the last one, not so much. He had to obviously do the great box out for that, but a lot of what he did just looked very fluid. He even, I would argue, I don't want to call it like, I don't want to say he wasn't trying or something, but he looked like very cautious on some of the chances that where sometimes we will see, Mitch really try to like snake his body in and get an arm around someone and, get a box out, whatever. it seemed like he was avoiding some of those a little bit today and kind of ceding a few rebounds. And I wonder if that's still just him getting confident in his body and his ankle again. Not certainly not wanting to put him in a position where he could, step on someone's shoe or something and turn his ankle again or whatever. So maybe he's just being a little overly cautious right now. But it just goes to show, like, I mean, this guy, even in 12 minutes when he didn't seem to be giving it 110% on getting every rebound, still got 5 rebounds and made it look really easy. And then like, I think he's going to see a lot of play time. I think, unfortunately, this means unless there's like heavy foul trouble for Cat and then also sort of for Mitch, like you're probably not going to see Precious Achiuwa as much anymore. Like as long as this team is fully healthy, like it was just obvious that with Mitch out there, I think that he gives you like everything other than like the illusion of spacing that Precious gives you. Like Precious, because he makes the occasional corner three, sometimes teams will respect him a little bit out there. So he can like sort of space the floor to that corner when he's out there, but he doesn't make those enough to make you really like, think that it's a huge threat. So I think that, ultimately what you're getting here out of having Mitch out there is basically everything that Precious can give you with the rebounding, the defense, um, the switch ability, all that, as long as Mitch is, at his best. Like you're going to get all that out of Mitch. Just won't get that occasional ability to make a three. But I mean, he even showed a little dribble drive dunk in this one. And it's like sort of a would be dribble handoff, and it didn't come to be. So then Mitch just kind of held the ball and then just turned right around, dribbled in, went up for a two-handed dunk, just like 2 strides roughly from about the 3-point line. Got in there, and nobody saw that coming. Like that was a wide open lane because everybody's like, "Oh, I was not expecting Mitch to put it on the floor." He gets at least one of those every year, it feels like. So encouraging to see him do it in his first game back in this one. Just really cool. So hopefully we see more of that. I mean, he got asked about that after the game too, and he kind of said like, "Yeah, I felt confident. I feel confident in the work I've put in. I feel good about everything. So, hopefully I'm able to do that more, and I certainly hope so as well." But I think there's still a little more to talk about here. There's the bench, Deuce McBride, big performance off the bench. The Knicks bench in general outscoring the Memphis bench, which is crazy because Memphis has the #1 bench in the NBA. Mikal Bridges had a really good game as well, even without the 3 falling. Cat had a little bit of an off game, so I'll talk about that a little bit. So still a lot to get into when we get back in to Locked On Knicks. All right, folks, third and final segment of today's Locked On Knicks, talking about this Knicks win over the Grizzlies, 114 to 113. So Deuce McBride, big game for him, 17 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 7 of 11 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. The Deuce was most definitely loose in this game. I thought he was a big part of the Knicks starting their comeback early on when he came in like the first quarter, late first, early second. I thought that he really cooked. He had 10 points in the first half out of his 17. Most of them came in this flurry from like the late first to early second quarter when the Knicks really needed someone to step up and make some buckets, and just take care of the ball, whatever. Like get rid of shots early, get rid of shots quick. Don't overthink it. Don't try to make extra passes, whatever. Deuce definitely did that. I mean, he had a 3 pretty much right away, had a nice little drive for a midi turnaround shot that he hit. I mean, just really good stuff out of him. I thought that it was, he kind of just pulled out the whole bag, or almost the whole bag, except for a thunder dunk, which of course he still did. Had a thunder dunk in the third quarter, and that was huge too. I mean, he just really came up. I mean, you want to talk about like Brunson and OG coming up in the clutch in this game. Deuce came up big in terms of the momentum shifters. Like he was a big momentum shifting guy in this game by, changing the tone from the first into the second quarter, hitting those shots, getting the team kind of going again. And then the Knicks find themselves down 9 again late in the third quarter, and Deuce just goes in, drives, huge dunk. I mean, he sees that lane, and he didn't have to like scale Zach Edey or anything. He didn't have to do that. He found a pretty open lane and managed to blow by his defender to the right, just go right up for that one-handed cock and throw it down. It was great though. Like and honestly, like a huge tone shifter. Like he came through again, just hit the shot that or hit this dunk that, kind of shut the Memphis crowd up, let the Knicks get back into the game, and then all of a sudden you look at it like midway through the third quarter, it's a back and forth affair. Or I'm sorry, the fourth quarter, it's a back and forth affair. Knicks and Grizzlies trading buckets, and then ultimately sets the stage for Brunson and OG finishing it off down the stretch. But I thought it was just great there. I'm really intrigued to see some more Deuce and Mitch together soon too. So that because of the game flow, because of Cat being in foul trouble a little bit and stuff like that, I feel like we didn't get to see a ton of Deuce handling the ball and Mitch screening in this one. But like with how Deuce is attacking the rim lately, I think you know seeing those two kind of team up and get together could be a great thing. Getting lots of just screen action for Deuce, with Mitch screens, and then having Mitch rolling to the hoop, let Deuce potentially go up for one of those dunks again. Let Mitch, potentially go up for a lob if the defense overhelps on Deuce. Like that might be kind of the perfect way to unlock Deuce in general as sort of a better ball handler, is just having a really tough rim attacking big like that. So hopefully we'll get to see some more of that soon. And then I've alluded to it a couple times already, but like the Knicks bench overall outscored Memphis 34-33, which is huge. I mean, they ran a graphic during the broadcast, which is kind of hilarious. It was the Knicks starters are first in minutes, first in points this year. The Grizzlies starters 30th in minutes, 18th in points. Then the Knicks bench 30th in minutes, 30th in points, and the Grizzlies bench first in minutes, first in points. So huge achievement for the Knicks to get the better of them that way, and get even just one more bench point. That's huge. Like to hang with the best bench in the NBA, that's what you need to beat them. Like you need to at least be in the conversation. And the fact that they came out on top, I mean, literally that one extra point wound up being the difference. Like that was the win for the Knicks. So huge for them, huge for the bench. I mean, obviously Mitch was part of that. Deuce was part of that. I'll just shout out like Campaign had a big three at one point. Landry Shamet had a big three at one point. Those guys really came through as well. Precious had a few minutes, looked fairly good as well. I think everybody off the bench scored. I'm actually just going to double check that. Yeah, so every single player that came off the bench did score at least 3 points. So, you love seeing that too. Precious had an and one, only played 4 minutes, but still managed to put 3 points on the board. Campaign, only that 1-3, but had 3 assists as well. Landry Shamet, 2 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3 in 15 and a half minutes. I thought that he did well, especially because Josh Hart was in a little bit of foul trouble. So he had to kind of step in, play about 15 minutes in this one. Just a good culture, good mentality of like every man being ready, next man up mentality, all that, all those, little buzzwords and whatever definitely came up in this one. And then going back to the starters though, Mikal Bridges thought had a really good game as well. Maybe not the most like jump off the screen box score for him, 15 points, 3 assists, 2 boards, 7 of 14 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. So, but I think it's kind of a testament, like even without the 3 falling, he made an impact in this game. His Ja Morant was really big, especially that final possession. I mean, again, he got beat the possession before, gave Morant an and one, let him kind of get by him. I'm sure that Mikal wasn't feeling great about that. Gets another go at it on the last possession, learns from what, Morant was trying to do. Morant tries basically the same move to just, drive left on him and get around him. Mikal just keeps him away, just shaded away enough from the hoop. Gets that one of those big arms up and gets it right in Morant's way and affects that shot enough that then Mitch can get that last rebound. Just really good, in-game learning from him on that. And, the second half especially, I thought that he did a really good job defending Ja Morant. Morant was only 4 of 11 in the second half, so really good job from Mikal there. I mean, there was just not really any shots that Morant took, especially like little middies and stuff like that, where there wasn't a good Mikal contest. And what's great with him is like you can have a guy that tries to do the drive in, stop on a dime, step back, hit a midi, but Mikal's like disciplined enough to not get too backpedaled on that, and then has that functional athleticism and the long arms and everything else that even if he's like 2.5, 3 feet away from the guy, once that guy gets into his motion, Mikal can get an arm up there and reasonably, put some suspicion in the guy's head of like, oh, he might block me here. So I got to, alter the shot a little bit. And you would see that, Morant was putting some of them long, coming off the back rim, whatever, because he was trying to put that little extra oomph on the shot to get it over Mikal's hand. And, was definitely bothered by the defense that he was playing. So this is like exactly the type of matchup that you traded for Mikal for. Ja Morant, Tyrese Maxey, these sort of guys, like the really fast, springy guards that can beat you off the dribble and all that stuff. Like Mikal is your raid for that. Like your raid insect repellent. He's that. You're just keeping these small, fast dudes away, like or keeping them at bay at least. Long enough to give yourself a chance to win a game. And I thought he did a really good job. Like Morant still somewhat got his, like he ended with, if you're just looking at like the counting stats, like he ended with 25 points, 7 assists. But then you look at the shooting, like 9 and 22 overall, 0-6 from 3, only hit the free throw line 7 times, which, I say only, like the Knicks best guy had 8 and the Grizzlies had 3 guys with 6 or more free throw attempts. So they definitely won the free throw battle in this one. But like either way, that's that's what you need out of a really good defender. Is like, maybe the star player on the other team, maybe the star guard will still get his to a degree, but you're gonna make life hard on them. And I thought that Mikal did a good job in this game of doing that to Ja Morant. And then offensively, I thought that Mikal was most impactful in the first half, and then that was kind of fine because that's when the Knicks really needed it. He, similar to Deuce, he kind of was coming through early when like nobody else was really had anything going on. Like Mikal makes a three, he gets a nice cut at one point, like made that little midi, one of his little middies, in just a turnaround from the left baseline, hit one of those, like good stuff from him, there. He just kind of kept the offense afloat. So, they didn't really need anyone to yeah, or they didn't really need Mikal to step up huge late in the game, and hit tons of shots in the second half or whatever. Because obviously they had Brunson to do that. OG came through. It was all in all very good. I'll just close, not to close on a negative note, but Cat had kind of an off game. 11 points, 7 boards, 4 of 11 field goals, 1 of 5 from 3. One of those games where I think he had kind of a hard time getting into a flow because of foul trouble, but also really was kind of bothered by the like double XL front line of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey. Um, I wonder if that's going to be a thing going forward. Like, I guess we'll see, if the Knicks, when they get their next shot against Cleveland or whatever, maybe we see again how he works against like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley or something. But that does figure to possibly, well, no, I think it's still looking like it's going to be the Celtics at this point. I mean, there is a chance, however slim, that the Knicks end up against the Cavs at some point in the playoffs. And so if Cat isn't able to get comfortable against a too big alignment like that, that could potentially bite them later on in the season. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. At any rate, great win. Just happy to talk about it. But as I mentioned, feeling a little under the weather. So I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back to talk about the Heat game on Monday. And then Gavin will be back and we'll be back to our regular shenanigans with the two of us. But until next time, thank you all for listening. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.